combination is Brussels sprouts with Facon. Brussels sprouts, of course, are in the cabbage family. They're great, braised or cooked, but cooking them with Facon adds so much more flavor to them. So this is a very easy dish. We simply take some slices of Facon, and you don't have to worry about separating them, and all we're going to do is just slice it into strips, just like this. What we're going to do is we're going to actually fry the Facon first, remove it from the pan. We're going to add the Brussels sprouts, season it with a little salt and pepper, add a little bit of stock, cook it until they're almost done, and then we're going to add the Facon back into it. So the flavor from this dish is really going to come from the Facon as well as the fat that we render out of it. So we have our sliced up Facon, put in a little dish, and we have here Brussels sprouts that have just been washed, and simply the stem was removed and cut in half. So we're going to go over to the stove, and we have here a cast iron skillet. We're going to turn it on to a medium-high flame, and we're going to add a little bit of olive oil to it. And because the Facon renders out better when the pan is not very hot, we're actually going to add the Facon now. And even though the Facon does render out some fat, we add a little bit more olive oil just so that there's enough there to really, get a good color on the Brussels sprouts and get them nice and cooked and caramelized. So we have a Facon in the pan. We're going to let this cook for a couple minutes just to render out, and then we're going to remove it and add the Brussels sprouts. So we have the Facon, and it is rendered out. It's nice and crispy, as you can see. Really beautiful. So we're just going to remove the Facon from the pan into our little dish here. And you don't have to be careful to get every last piece, because if a little bit of it stays in there with the Brussels sprouts, it'll just, add a lot more flavor. So we have our trimmed Brussels sprouts, and we're just going to add them into the pan. And we left some of the oil and the fat. Not too much. I don't want to crowd it. And just like that, we're going to season it with some pepper. Freshly ground black pepper, as always, adds the most flavor, and some kosher salt. Give it a little stir. And we're going to cook it like this just for a few minutes until it starts to take on a little bit of color, gets a little golden brown. Then we're going to add a little bit of the chicken or vegetable stock and let it just cook a little longer. So the Brussels sprouts have started to take on color. They're golden brown. They've softened just a little bit. They're nice and caramelized. And to finish cooking them now, they're about 40% done. We're going to add a little bit of our chicken stock. And you can see it comes up to a nice boil. We're going to cook this now until most of the liquid evaporates and it's softened up a bit. And this will take just about another 10 minutes or so. Then we're going to add the Facon back in and finish up the dish. Our Brussels sprouts have been cooking. Most of the stock is evaporated. They're nice and tender. We're now going to take our Facon and we're going to add it right back into the pan. We're going to give it a little stir. And doesn't that look just beautiful? I'm going to taste it. Always nice to taste as you go, especially when it's a dish as good as this. Absolutely delicious. Add a little more salt. A little more black pepper. Always good to finish seasoning at the end so you could adjust it. Get it exactly where it needs to be. Stir it up a little more. Turn off the heat. And here you have it, Brussels sprouts with crispy Facon.